Alrighty, everybody. It's been a hot minute since my last video. I think that was about a month and a half ago, but it's time I give another update on PvP. There's been a couple changes, most importantly the advent of Gran. Before we get started, as always, I don't care if you like or interact with the video, but if you want to give me a like in game, I'm trying to hit like 20, 30, so feel free to give me a like here for Thomas Aquinas. With that, let's jump right into the state of PvP. Alrighty, so what's happened since my last video? I think the most important thing has obviously been the advent of Gran. Gran has been added to the game. Gran makes defense have a much better chance. I think in general it varies from obviously elo to elo, but she's improved probably the defense win rate by about 5 to 10% and decreased offensive win rate accordingly. Most importantly, she forces offenses to play around her new taunt ability and her energy guard, which means that a few select characters that are able to deal with energy guards, Rafina, right? Rafina's able to deal with energy guards. No, Rafina sucks. Rafina's not a PvP good unit, unfortunately. And so we're back to the same old, right? Scheherazade, who has continued to dominate the meta, has one of the best openers now on attack. Her pool party costume, if you're a new player, you won't have it, but if you're an older player or if you bought an account, you might have her pool party costume is one of the best openers. And then Elianir is also one of the best openers with her ability on her base. Her base here, you can see I have her +3, so she's in my attack offense opener. She also has the ability to remove the target's buff effect. Both of these are probably the best ways to deal with Gran in the game right now. So let's go into the stats that I've collected. This is looking at, let's start here. For rank, this is rank masters 3+. This is for season 20. I was too lazy and didn't want to wait for the season 20 ranks to come out because it takes like 8 hours. I don't know why. So I matched people with their season 19 ranks, which is a close enough proxy for their performance in general. I just want to make sure I'm not, seeing somebody in GM1 and they actually end up like M3 or something. So I just use this as a proxy for their performance. You can see here across, almost 380, 330 matches that Eclipse and Scheherazade continue to be the most commonly picked units in both attack and defense. Rue continues to be the strongest 1 SP like flex unit, especially for magic teams, because your magic team will often run Helena and Scheherazade, the pool party costume, and then a Rue kick. I've seen some different variations, but that's a really common one. You'll see, especially in higher elos, that Sylvia has kind of fallen off. Sylvia used to be a really strong 1 SP option for a physical based comp. You would run H. Lathel, you would run the Stabby Justia, and then you had 2 SP to flex. You could run Manager Grey, was probably the best option, but you could also run Elianir, nobody did. You could run Angelica, I did that for a little bit, or you could run a Rue and Sylvia combo if you built Sylvia. That was really popular a couple seasons ago, not anymore, because you now have to, in the middle, run your Elianir as well, and so you don't have room for that Sylvia, and so she kind of has fallen off in favor. You can see she's not even used at all in high elo again, although my end is pretty low. So a couple other things to note here. Justia is still really strong as a follow-up. Basically your last 2 SP instead of your middle 2 SP. You do like H. Lathel and then Elianir and then Justia. There's a couple goobers still running Gran, including a challenger player. It's this Japanese guy who attacked me twice. He was still playing Gran at the beginning of the week, but you definitely shouldn't be using Gran on offense. So if you're doing that, pick up your free elo and remove her from there. Some people are running Glacia to tank. I think Leclis is still the most popular tank on offense, though, and then it kind of falls off here. Looking at the defensive side, it's very much the same distribution. The main thing to note is obviously Gran is used something like 70 to 80% of the time, so on attack you have to expect a Gran. But the nice thing is, if you're one of those 20-something% of players that don't have a Gran, that's okay. Even your threat of Gran forces offenses to assume there's a Gran, and you can play around that. You can play now, I think Glacia, even though she's not used very often, I think she's actually very strong now, because PP Shera and Elianir both will not kill a well-built Glacia, and so if you can put your Glacia in a place that can tank that, you can basically make them waste 2 SP on turn 1, which is absolutely great, and improves your defense win rate. So you don't have to play Gran, although I think she's very strong. A couple other things to note, obviously Glacia has gone down in play rate. I think most teams are trying to shy away from playing 3 tanks, because then you just have 2 carries, and if either of your carries gets killed, you have almost no way of winning unless you get unless you get super lucky with the Eclipse. And so yeah, there's a couple units that pop up a little bit. Grey is really strong for like a turn 1 auto attack. That's what I do. Angelica's, comes up every now and then. You would have thought Yuri might have gotten some play because she has a 3 SP way to break Grans to remove her buff, but she's just not played for the 3 SP. It just costs too much. Similar things come with GM3. I don't think there's any big changes that we see here. And then in Challenger 3 Plus, so this is the top 10 from season 19. Again, it's usually the same players for the most part. You can see Eclipse and Sherazade are very popular. Only I think a couple people are running Justia, and even when they are, they're not even running Lathel. They're just running a naked Justia, trying to catch a squishy off guard with a stab on turn 1, probably, or maybe on turn 2, or sorry, turn 3. You can see on defense, Eclipse is absolutely used in every single challenger. I think Eclipse is the strongest unit on defense right now. Gran is not even used on every defense. You can see here. The nice thing is that now, with the advent of Gran, previously, so let me show you in game real quick. So what used to happen is back in the day when people didn't have Justia +3 and H Lathel wasn't removed, there were lots of different strategies with positioning that you could do. But one thing people really realized really quickly is that there's not symmetry with the offense and defense in terms of columns. That is, both players, both attack and defense, this leftmost column is the safest one to place your units in, right? If I place a unit in here, they're going to attack the enemy and then move downwards, right? But this middle column, if this middle column kills all the units in your middle column, they're not going to attack this column, they're going to attack the right column. So it becomes really important to protect that left column, and because offense was so strong, on defense you didn't even want to fight for that left column. You oftentimes wanted to put a tanky unit, or maybe 2 tanky units, and hope you could just tank the heck out of it, and then hope you could spank the enemy on your turn 2, and that was kind of your best way to win. But now that Gran can force consume 2 SP, it's much easier for defense to fight for the left column, and so Eclipse right now is probably the best way to punish greedy left column players, including myself here. And so if you want to, I think one of the strongest opener or strongest defenses right now is some combination like this. I don't know if just belongs here, but some way to align your units where you can expect maybe a Justia stab, and maybe find some way. I even think maybe running like a 50-50, defense and MDef Eclipse, such that she can tank an auto attack and just make sure she doesn't get crit and killed. And then, on her turn, on turn 2, she can absolutely obliterate that left column. I think that can be really strong. But another thing to note, looking back here at my presentation, the important thing to note, with the exception of Leclis and maybe a Glacia, is that all these units here use really low SP. Because if you do run Gran takes up 6 of your SP, and so on your turn on defense, you only have 6 SP remaining. And so it's harder to run units like Rafina, units like Elise that used to be okay on defense, especially back in like the first seasons when people really didn't know what they were doing. They used to be pretty strong. They could tank and then spank, right? But now they can't do that anymore because you don't have as much SP to play with. So you need units like Eclipse that can deal with 3, Justia that can deal with 2. I'm goofing off with Therese and coping, waiting for her next costume, hoping it helps her with PvP. And Eclipse is the only real exception to that because, actually no, hers is 3. I keep forgetting it's only 3 SP, not 4. But these units that require 3 or less SP so that you can guarantee using 2 and ideally 3 costumes on defense, even with the Gran, are kind of the ideal way, in my opinion, to run defense. So I'm going to keep this video a little bit short. I'm a little bit strapped for time today, so I can't do too much. I'm trying to do this all in one take. But as always, I hope this is helpful. I'll keep you guys posted if there's a new PvP unit coming out with my opinions on it. Whether you pulled for Gran or not, it doesn't matter. I think she's fine. If you're not running Gran, I think going with Glacia and Leclis is still a very strong defense. And as always, if you like this video, please give me a like, and feel free to leave any comments if you have anything to correct me or any suggestions for future videos as well. As always, I will see you guys in the Mirror Wars, and have fun, and I will catch you later.